Welcome to the Especially for Athletes podcast, where we explore essential principles that empower athletes to learn life's most valuable lessons through sports.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Especially for Athletes podcast. I'm Dustin Smith, here with Shad Martin, as usual, and our guest today. We're delighted to have Keanu Akina on as our guest. Keanu is a professional golfer who recently graduated from BYU. He grew up in Hawaii, spent a little bit of time out in Utah in high school, but most of his life growing up out in Hawaii, and is trying to make it right now in professional golf. Keanu, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I've known Keanu now for I don't know, maybe 2-3 years. Keanu, I can't remember. You were I think a junior or senior when we first started doing some work with the BYU golf team, with Especially for Athletes, and I came out and spoke to the golf team a couple times while you were there, and you came and played in our fundraiser golf event down at Black Desert Resort in St. George, and that's when I really got a chance to know you and had you over to the house a couple times. And anybody who's, if you're a fan of golf, or if you're just a fan of good dudes in the world, Keanu is as good as they come. He's just an excellent young man, an unbelievable golfer, and somebody that I know myself and many others are really pulling for to see a breakthrough in golf. So Keanu, kind of fill us in on you finished up at BYU, had a great career there. Kind of fill us in on how your life's been since. I know you had something happen to you that's more important than golf about a year ago, just over a year ago. Fill us in on your life since BYU.
Well, appreciate you saying all that, Dustin. Yeah, so finished at BYU in 2024, turned pro that summer. And since then, the big thing that you're talking about that happened was last year. I got married in February. So me and my wife, Abigail, live here in Orem. She's still going to BYU. She'll be done next year. She's going to school full time, and she teaches Danish at BYU.
I'm glad you said that, Keanu, because I didn't tell you what that big thing was. If you'd have come back and said the big thing you were talking about was I went eagle birdie on the back nine of
Dude, you set me up.
Yeah, you got it correct. Good job. It was your wedding.
Yeah.
But you said she's teaching Danish, but tell us a little bit about why she's teaching Danish, because she's got an interesting background herself.
Yeah, so she's from Denmark, born and raised in Denmark. And her and all of her siblings have come to Utah to go to school so far. One of her sisters is still serving a mission in Italy. But we're neighbors with her oldest sister. We share a duplex. So it's really nice when I travel, they can hang out. And her sister's husband was in the military in the National Guard. So he was deployed last year, and he still works a lot. So it's really nice when we're traveling, we can kind of take care of each other that way. But yeah, she's Danish, and I'm actually Danish too. My mom's maiden name was Larsen, which is really Danish. And so I try to tell her that, hey, I'm Danish too, and she's not buying it.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I'm not buying that either.
Yeah.
That's like
100th.
My daughter's marrying a kid from Hawaii, and I was born in Hawaii, so I always try to start out everything with us Hawaiians. We just do things a little different. But he's not buying it either, Keanu. He's not buying that I'm Hawaiian.
Well, Keanu, once you got married and started your pro golf career about the same time, and how's that been going so far? I know it's tough, but give us an update on. You said before we hopped on here, you'd mentioned something just in passing that you'd played in. Was it 7 countries? You said you'd been traveling and played in your first year or so of pro golf.
Yeah. So my very first year turning pro, I didn't get any status. I did Q school for Korn Ferry and PGA, and I made it to second stage. And then I also did Q school for the DP World Tour in Europe. And same thing, I made it to second stage, but didn't get any status. Then the next summer, last summer, I got offered to take some sponsor invites to go play on the Hotel Planner Tour in Europe, which is the feeder tour for the DP World. And so I was able to go do that. They gave me 7 starts. So I played Austria, Czech Republic, Portugal, Italy, Sweden, Finland, and the Netherlands. And it was a great experience. It was honestly really tough because, like you said, newly married and had to be gone for so many weeks in a row was really tough. And just being this is something not a lot of people, I guess, talk about or know about in the pro golf world, but traveling alone is really, really tough. Just like mentally, sometimes physically, because it's just a lonely road. And going over there to Europe, it's so far. And I mean, I was somewhat comfortable because I'd lived there for 2 years, and so I kind of know how things operate over there. But just being by myself was pretty tough. I didn't have any friends over there really, but it was a good experience and kind of was, I'd say, the make or break point for me, where I was out there and I was like, man, is this really what I want to do? Like, is this worth it to me to be putting all this time and all this effort and this struggle to play golf? And I had to really think about it and dig deep. And obviously I'm still playing, so I came out of it thinking that, yeah, this is what I want to continue to do, and something that I believe I can do, and something that I believe will help me with my life's goal, which is to bring as much good to the world and to God's children as I can. And so that's why I'm sticking with it. And yeah, still trying to fight for a spot on one of these tours, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Well, I got a question for you, and then I'll hand it over to Shad for a couple questions. But Keanu, you said something there that you talked about the loneliness, and it got me wondering, because you also were a very good high school basketball player. You have a brother who played collegiately. You have 6 brothers and sisters, right? There's 7 in your family. So you come from a big family, so you're used to, being around a bunch of, your family, obviously having a lot of people in the home, and then you played a team sport and were very, very good at that. And then, but in this golf world, there is a lot of kind of by yourself. I mean, when you're out there playing, I know in the collegiate, you may, you have your coach, you may have people following you and things, but maybe your caddy. But for the most part, it's kind of a you against the course game. It's you against you. You're playing your game against the course that everybody's playing, which is different than basketball, where you got 4 other guys on your team on the court and people who can, you can constantly be talking with and celebrating with and traveling with and in the locker room with and everything. So, how was that adjustment? And, is talk a little bit more about the difference, the mindset being part of a team in a team sport like basketball versus golf, where most of it is just you against the course.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I make fun of my dad a lot because he tries to make them out to be more similar than I think they are. Because in his mind, it's like, dude, it's just golf is simple. Just hit it straight down the fairway. You don't need to look for your ball. Just hit it down the fairway, hit it on the green. It's a simple game. But in basketball, there's a lot going on. It's really fast paced and you have a lot of moving parts. But on a basketball team, you have a role. Probably same with any other team sport. Like you play different positions. So in high school, I was a shooter. So that was kind of my job, was to just shoot. There's a point guard who takes care of the ball handling, setting up the plays. You have your big man. In golf, there's no positions. You got to do everything. You got to be able to drive the ball. You got to be able to hit the approach. You got to be able to putt and chip. So it's different that way. But it was kind of a easy adjustment, I think, going into college, because even though it's an individual sport, a lot of times we would play together. And so playing with your teammates, I don't know if most guys feel this way, but I felt like when we were playing together, we could kind of build off of each other. So if I'm playing with Carson or Zach and one of them makes a birdie, I feel like that kind of gets my, you know, mojo going as well. Like, hey, he's just made a birdie. I need to make one too. Let's get going. And we were high fiving and talking to each other and stuff. So that was nice. And it was a lot of fun. And yeah, like you said, it's pretty easy in college because the coaches take care of everything. They make all the travel plans. They're driving us around. They're feeding us. But as soon as you turn pro, everything is up to you. You have to do all the bookings and you have to be the one to manage your time. And so like one of the biggest things I learned playing on the European tour last year was how to manage my time. And it was like, you go to the course, you warm up for an hour, hour and a half, whatever, and you play. And then after you're done, you're there and you're with all these guys that have been on the tour for a while, or they have their cards. And so you're trying to push yourself and earn your spot. And you feel like, hey, I need to put in some extra work here. Like I'm going to stay on the range and hit balls, or I'm going to work on my putting. And I was doing that. And I learned like, okay, if I finish my round at 5 or 6 and I stay for 2 hours, now it's 7, 8 o'clock. I still got to go get dinner, and then I got to go to sleep and wake up early the next day. Like it's not managing your time properly. So sometimes you got to know like when you need to take the time to do the other things that aren't golf, like taking care of your body and taking care of your health and eating dinner and going to bed. Yeah. So yeah, I learned a lot last year about the whole professional schedule and what it really looks like on a day-to-day to play on a tour.
That's a super interesting part of Win the Hour, isn't it, Dustin?
Yeah.
Something maybe we haven't delved into a lot, because we always talk about if you want to get better at something, it's just more time, more effort, more everything. But if you don't maintain that balance to eat right, to take care of your body, we had Daniel Summerhays on, and you'll remember, Dustin, he talked about how the superpower that most professional athletes are realizing it gives them a superpower is sleep, right? And taking the time to get those 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and that's shown to be one of the greatest performance enhancing habits that there is. And so if I heard you right, Keanu, at BYU, they helped you with that. I mean, it was, you practice here, you come here, I'm sure you put in some extra time, but they had a schedule that was set for you, and now you're doing it on your own. What have you learned as you've tried to balance that, putting in the extra time and doing that, but also taking the time you need to sleep, to eat right, to let your body heal and rest and be strong for the next day? Are there some lessons you've learned from that time in Europe that you could share with our listeners?
Yeah, for sure. I think Danny Summerhays is a great example of balance. That dude has, it seems to me like he does everything in his life right. Like when he was at school, he was a 4.0 student, obviously amazing golfer, played on the tour for a long time, great family man, just a great man. And it feels like he does everything right. But yeah, so he's a great example of taking care of your body, because with the injuries he's had, I think if he wasn't spending the time working out and prepping his body before every time he practices and plays, he wouldn't be able to play anymore and have the long career that he's had. But yeah, last year in Europe, I was struggling with some issues in my back. And the European tour was very good with their trainers that they had. They had, like physio guys that were on site every day. They had gyms pretty much at every tournament, and they were giving us a meal a day as well. So that was really nice. But I was talking to one of the physio guys because I just my back, like, it just kept getting worse kind of. And one of the days my rib like came out so bad that I could like barely breathe. and I was in the middle of a round, and they came out and adjusted me. It didn't really take away the problem. And one of the guys was telling me like, "Hey, are you eating? Are you working out?" And I was like, "Well, not really. Like, I play so much golf, and then when I'm done playing, I want to practice. So I haven't really been working out." And he's like, "Dude, you gotta work out." And he's like, "How much do you weigh?" And I was like, "Well, right now I'm 160." And he's like, "Bro, you're 5'11", 6 foot. Like, you need to be at 175, 180." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I was, but you know, I I've lost 15 pounds over the summer just traveling and playing so much." And he's like, "Yeah, you gotta, dude. This is what being a professional is. You got to take care of these things. You got to eat. You got to get your calories in, because now your body is 15 pounds lighter. Trying to do the same work that you were doing when you were 15 pounds heavier, it's not going to work. It's going to break down." So yeah, that was huge for me. It was kind of like really eye opening. Like, I gotta. It seems like you guys said, you want to grind and you want to put in the time, but sometimes it doesn't look the way you think it does. Like, sometimes just eating food is what you need to do for the day.
Yeah. You got to do the work, but it's got to be smart work, right? It's that old phrase, working smarter instead of harder sometimes. And that's when we say win the hour, we probably need to explain that, you know, that yes, that means doing something productive, but it's doing the right thing at the right time productively, and sometimes that right thing is maybe rest, or just getting your brain right. Eating in your case, I can tell you that when you're 15 pounds more than you want to be, Keanu, like I am, that the same issues that you're dealing with have the same effect on the other end. Your back starts feeling it when you're trying to lose 10 or so, like I am. But it's take care of that back, Keanu. That's especially in the golf world, but in life in general, a bad back can be rough. I want to talk to you a little bit more about something you said when we were talking about time and in team sport versus golf. So one of the things that I've always been I don't know, not fascinated by, but very interested in is it a coach myself. I've coached a lot of football over the years, and in football, you call a play, and as soon as that play ends, the clock starts, and you have 40 seconds to get your next play in. And so you don't have a whole lot of time to think about the last play. You got to move on. And we're as a coach, I'm always telling the quarterback and the players and myself and other coaches that we got to play the next play. It's one play and clear. We don't have time to rehash what just happened. We'll deal with it later, but we got to move on to the next play. And worrying about what just happened is only going to make what's coming up unproductive. So next play. In golf, that's easy in football or basketball because the next play happens so fast that you legitimately, you have a clock in both of those sports that's telling you have to play the next play. Literally, you're going to get there's going to be a whistle blown and a consequence for not playing the next play in 24 seconds, let's say, or whatever the shot clock is in basketball. But in golf, you sometimes have several minutes where you have to wait before you make your next play or hit your next shot. And I remember asking Danny Summerhays about this exact question or this exact topic. What do you do to train your mind to move on from a bad shot that you just hit and get your mind right again to make the next shot be a good one? Because that, to me, in golf is one of the hardest things to do, is to accept that I just missed a shot that I should make 99 out of 100 times, but I didn't. And now it doesn't stop. You got to go right back and do another one here. This is going to get out of control quickly. So how do you train your brain to manage that?
That's a great question. I'm still working on that, and it's frustrating because it's something that I feel like I should have mastered by now. But pretty much, like, say I have a bad shot or a bad hole, I'll just tell myself like, "Hey, that's okay. Just play the next one." And I remember I was playing in Hawaii a few years ago, in the pre-qualifier for the Sony Open Monday, and I knew I was a little bit behind. I think I was like even par, and I knew it was going to be like 2 under to get in, and I had about 4 holes left. I was on a par 5, and I hooked my tee shot into the water, and I'm walking up there, and my uncle was watching me. He came out because he lived nearby, and he came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, Anu boy, forget about it. Let it go. Just play." And that sometimes I still like try to hear his voice in my head when I have something like that happen. And that day I was like, yeah, I it's simple. Like you hit the shot, you make the play, you can't change it. It's done. So just do the next one. And that day I was able to save par on that hole and make a couple birdies coming in, and I ended up qualifying that day. And I like I said, it's frustrating for me because I've had many experiences like that. My entire process of getting onto the team at BYU was full of stuff like that. Like the uh, first day of tryouts, I made an 8 on my first hole, and was able to come back from that and win the tryout. So it's a constant battle you have to have in your mind of letting things go and focusing on what you can control. I work with Dr. Craig Manning, and he talks about being proactive versus reactive. And I think that's why Kihei is playing so well right now, because he's doing such a good job with his mental game of having his expectations and being able to let go of what he can't control and just do the one shot at a time, do your process one thing at a time.
Yeah. And for listeners, Kihei Akina is Keanu's brother, who was the number 1 ranked high school golfer in the country. Also a guy that we do some things with especially for athletes, but is a freshman right now at BYU. But Keanu, does it help you when you said that what your uncle told you and that experience at BYU? Does having had the experience of recovering from a bad shot and still pulling off, like you said, saving par and finishing with a couple birdies, or starting with an 8 and then still winning, has having done that previously help you when you make a mistake now, and to be able to say to yourself, hey, I've recovered from worse than this, I'm good?
Yeah, but I do think you need to be careful with the expectation. Like, okay, yeah, I've got out of situations like this before, so I can still make par here. Like, I don't think that's the right way to think about it, because you're still putting that pressure on yourself. But just being able to let it go and say, okay, I've come back from worse before. I can let this go and just hit the next one and just see what happens, and just do the best that I can with what I have, and not try to force anything, but yeah, let go of the negative and continue with the positive.
Yeah. Shad, I'm curious your thoughts on this. I've oftentimes thought life runs sort of parallel to a round of golf, in that, sometimes you just have crappy lies, right? You're in the weeds, or you're in the water, and you have to take a penalty stroke. You're suffering for a decision you made. That would be the penalty stroke. Or, you're in the trees, and sometimes in golf, the best shot is to hit one backwards or to hit one laterally. It's just to get back in the fairway, right? And I oftentimes think that in my own life, like, look, man, you just need to get back in the fairway right now, because you're hacking it over here in the weeds, and you just need to get back on to level, get yourself kind of figured out, and then you can start progressing. But you need to just get back in the fairway. And I think there's some parallels to life that with golf, that the next day might be our best day. The next hour might be the best hour of our life. Same thing in golf. The next shot might go in, right? You never know. So but sometimes we need to just take our medicine and okay, move on. And the next hole is going to be awesome, and maybe one shot at a time. But Shad, you do a lot with mentoring adults, and I know high school kids around the state. maybe build off of that a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the beauty of golf is you are where you are. You play where you lie, and life, like real golf, not like the kind of golf that I do, where an 8 on the first hole is very natural. It's very normal.
You kept
But
it under 10. Great job.
yeah, yeah. Uh, but we don't get a lot of mulligans in life, if that makes sense. You are where you are, and you could spend a lot of time, no matter what. You could spend a lot of time thinking about what you could have done different so that you aren't where you are right now in your life. But who cares? Like, you are where you are. There is a certain beauty to saying, here's where I lie. Like, that's my goal, but right now I'm right here. And so what do I need to do to get from where I am to where I want to be? And that's where I see the greatest parallel in life. It's Easter season, and been thinking a lot about that. And even Jesus Christ taught, some come to the field to labor early, and then some come at noon, and then some come in the afternoon, and some come right before, right? And I think the beauty of that teaching of the Savior is he was saying, I don't care how many shots it takes for you to get to the hole. I want you here. Like, this is where I want you to end up. And I think there's a certain beauty, like in golf, to just letting the past, whatever landed you where you are right now in life, stop thinking about that. Start thinking about where you want to get. Sometimes it's some tough decisions, Dustin. Like you said, you have to chop your way out of a group of trees and keep it low and go backwards to the fairway. But ultimately, I want to get there as soon as I can, and as few shots as I can, and I am where I am. I just think there's a certain beauty to just let everything melt away. Who gives a crap about what anyone thinks? Like, I am where I am. How do I get where I want to get? And make the decisions to help you get there. And I think it's the same in life and for golf. So I love that comparison, Dustin.
That's awesome.
Keanu, you've learned a lot about. Chad was saying that I thought about the phrase that's over his left shoulder right now of being resilient, which is one of the principles of our program, one of the chapters in our book, and something that we really feel like touches on everything we do, and especially for athletes, is that that idea of, or that principle of what it means to be resilient. In golf, there's all sorts of opportunities to be resilient. We've talked about some of them now. Talk to us a little bit about, which you already did, but talk to us a little bit about when you finish up a tournament, you take a couple days, I assume, to recover and kind of get your brain back, but then you're back at it again. And what parts of your life have you really had to dig deep and practice that principle of being resilient? Do you have any stories where you said earlier, you talked about one where you had to ask yourself, is this something I really want to do? Right? Is this really worth it? That was an example there where you had to. That was an example of resiliency. But how does resiliency factor into golf?
Into golf or into just life?
Both. Yeah, touch on both. Yeah, what have you learned about it from golf, and how have you applied that maybe into life as well? Has that helped you be more resilient in life because of the resiliency necessary to be a golfer?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think on this one, I'd like to hear from you guys about what you think, because yeah, in golf, you're never going to have a perfect round, and it's all about mitigating your mistakes and playing to the highest percentages and stuff like that. But like, personally, being newly married and having my wife with me, uh, it's humbling, because now I have someone else who everything I do and say has a part in that, and it affects her in one way or not or another. And so something that I've had to learn this year is just how to be a better husband and a better person. So like just never giving up and trying to become better in everything that I do and say, and trying to serve more and be less selfish. So maybe like what you guys have more experience than me on that. Like what would you guys say is, I don't know, the key to being resilient in life with your relationships and in your families?
Yeah, Chad, why don't you start?
Well, first of all, I think the fact that you're humble enough to ask that question is a great start, because one of the things is I've raised children, especially and with my wife, like you said, in golf, you're never going to shoot a perfect round. You know, you have to just do your best and then adjust. I have found that the people with the most successful marriages and families are people that are willing to apologize to one another, seek forgiveness from one another. You're not going to shoot a perfect shot, every day as a husband. You're not going to be a perfect husband. Every now and then it takes asking someone, um, that just asking your wife, how am I doing? Is, tell me what I could do better. Um, there's times where, I need to apologize for that, especially with kids, Keanu. I found that one of the greatest parenting skills in the world is apologizing to your children when you know you've been a jerk of a dad. Just saying, hey, I didn't handle that well. I'm sorry. I know you're trying. This is my first time being a dad. Um, I haven't got it perfected yet. There's something in sports and in life about being humble enough to seek advice and humble enough to ask for forgiveness and apologize that will help you get where you want to get, if that's your heart, if that's what you really want to do. And the fact that you're asking that question tells me that's your heart. So just stay that way and always assume that you can learn and grow. And I think it's the same thing with golf. If you were golfing with someone that you looked up to a lot, you would take time to ask them some questions and, hey, what do you do with this? What do you do with that? Tell me about your nutrition on the pro tour. Tell me about lifting on the pro tour, right? When you're with someone that you admire as a husband and father, take time to do the same thing with them and listen and apply and apologize when you don't live up to that, because you're not going to perfectly. Those are the things that I think. I'm not a perfect husband, and I've been working on it for 25 years. Um, but those things have helped me not make catastrophic mistakes.
That's
So,
good.
what would you say, Dustin?
Chad, I think that's great. Keanu, I think that, like Chad said, that you're way more you're mature beyond your years. The fact that you're, like Chad said, even interested in asking that question of us, but as being our guest, one thing that I've learned with resiliency is I've just learned to come to accept that sometimes bad just happens, and so instead of expecting that every day is going to be perfect, I've take for example golf. I had this just not long ago. I was playing and I'd missed a couple fairly easy putts that disappointed me because I was in good shape and missed some putts I felt like I should have made. And then I had a couple where I made some crazy shots and pulled a couple crazy shots off. And walking off the green, I I told the guy that I was golfing with that, the golf gods taketh and the golf gods giveth. It's they. I know I'm going to make some shots sometimes that I have no business making, and I'm going to get a break where it hits off a tree and pops back into play. And oftentimes we forget about those. We act like that should have happened when truth is it probably shouldn't have happened. We got a break. We don't remember those. We only remember the ones that we miss and then say, well, that's not fair. And I got hosed and life's not fair. I think it's the same thing in life that sometimes we have really good things happen to us that, we gotta remember that, man, God sometimes gives us some layups and we take advantage of it and life's great, but there's going to be some times when we don't. And I've just come to accept that sometimes sucky's going to happen. And my job isn't to complain and moan and groan and say that's not fair, but just understand that that's life and part of what we signed up for. And in those moments, it's all right. I got to hold my sleeves up and get a little bit dirty here for a second and get myself out of this. But there's going to come other times in my life where everything's going pretty smoothly. And I need to remember that, okay, the bad thing's probably coming at some point because it's been pretty easy here for a bit, which is good because you only grow in those hard times. And looking at those hard times as an opportunity to get better. Like I'm sure in golf, Keanu, when you have that tough shot that you have to bend around a tree or you have a hard up and down that you got to get, you you can pull it off. And it's kind of fun to say, okay, let's put all that practice into work here. Here's my chance I can make this shot. Everybody watch this, right? I got this. And so we don't want it to always be easy. I don't think we grow if it's always easy. And so maybe looking at those harder times is, okay, here's a chance for me to show how tough I really am. I always say when I talk about resiliency, Chad's heard this a million times, but we don't know if we're resilient. We may think we're resilient. We may talk about and in our head say, man, I'm a resilient person. But the thing about resiliency is you don't know if you're resilient until you have to practice resiliency, and so you don't know. And then you get a chance to show that maybe we're not as resilient as we think, and we got to work on it. But when we have those opportunities and we show that we're resilient, I think it's not bad to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm a pretty resilient person. I got this, and I can do it next time. But accept that sometimes the tough times are going to happen, but believe in yourself that you can get through it and that there's light on the other end. And just like in golf, I think it's the same in life. We have bad years and then the next year could be great. So just one step at a time, one day at a time. We call that win the hour. It's just 1 hour at a time.
Keanu, I have a question for you. I was doing a little study about you and learned a little bit about your family. So you have a bunch of your grandpa played basketball at BYU Hawaii. Your dad did. You have uncles that have played basketball and track and field. But you and your brother. So Dustin already talked about your younger brother that's currently playing golf at BYU. But you have a sister, Donnie, played rugby at Harvard. I'm just curious. Tell me about your parents. Like they seem to help you all. You seem to be great academically and at sports. I would love to hear about your mom and dad a little bit, how they foster that environment to help you guys thrive like that.
Yeah, I think just ever since I was a little kid and then with the rest of my siblings, they've always pushed us to do the best at whatever we were doing. Especially in school, we always were expected to have good grades and to work hard and to do the work first before we can play. So, like for example, my sister you mentioned that played rugby at Harvard. We're a basketball family, pretty much. Like my grandpa and my dad both played at BYU Hawaii, and we all pretty much played basketball growing up. My sister in high school said, "Dad, I don't want to play basketball anymore." And he said, "Okay, well, you better figure out something to do because you're going to do something." And so she decided to play rugby, and she was somehow able to get really good at it. In just a couple of years, she worked really hard and ended up playing at Harvard. And so, yeah, I think my parents, something they did and still do really well is they were willing to make sacrifices so that we could have opportunities to do things that we wanted to do and pursue the things that we wanted to pursue. So I'm really grateful to them for that and for teaching us how to work hard and how to be resilient.
That's really cool, Dustin, that it's like, it seems they didn't care what you did, but they cared a lot about how you did what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
And that you did something, that you were busy. Yeah. You weren't just full of idle, time, nothing to do. And because that's obviously when we find ourselves probably in trouble. So they wanted you to stay busy and not just doing busy work, but like you said, doing the work. And like we say, do the work. Like if whatever it is you're doing, try to be your best at it, and obviously the best for you and your brother and your sister is pretty dang good. It's to play at Harvard means you had to be not just a good rugby player, but a hecka smart as well. And obviously, Keanu, you and your brother and golfing and the rest of your family. Talk to us real quick, Keanu, about you living 2 years in Europe when you graduated high school. Not a lot of Hawaiian kids end up in Czechoslovakia for 2 years after graduation. You may be the first. And what's that? What kind of lessons do you think you learned that's helped you in golf and helped you in life from serving and being a missionary for 2 years in a foreign country right after high school?
It was the greatest experience that I could have had at the time, and I wouldn't have spent my time in any other way. It was the best. And yeah, I think I probably was the only Hawaiian there, maybe ever, that lived there. So it was pretty unique. I thought I was for sure going to Japan because in Hawaii, anyone who takes Japanese in high school pretty much gets called to Japan. So I thought that's where I was going. The Lord had a different place for me to go, and I'm really grateful because I still love those two countries, and I still try really hard to keep up with my language skills and keeping those contacts that I made over there, because like I said, that time is really precious to me, because when you're a missionary, your purpose is so clear. It's to invite others to come under Christ and to help them to do so. And there's nothing better when you wake up every day and you know exactly what your purpose is, and you know that your purpose is the best thing in this whole world. Then it just makes you happy, even when you're having the worst day ever and nobody wants to talk to you and nobody wants to hear from you. You can still be happy at the end of the day. So yeah, like I said, the mission for me was the best life experience, and I'm really grateful that I got to go.
Yeah. That's awesome, Keanu. And what you said there at the end, I think is the key in everything maybe that we talk about, and that is your purpose. That I think that's the key to life, is finding our purpose and realizing that you have one, that everybody has a purpose. And we're kind of trying to figure that out a little bit from time to time. But I'll tell you that, the purpose, I don't think, is as simple as hitting a golf ball. The purpose of your life isn't to be really good at golf. The purpose is, or whatever the sport might be to whoever's listening, it's what does hitting a golf ball really good allow you to then do? And we would call that the Sportlight. That you're hitting a golf ball really well is why we have you on this podcast right now, and put you in opportunities to give and share insights and experiences and things with other people that maybe hitting a golf ball, if you hadn't hit a golf ball well, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. And I think that's that we talk about it all the time, that not making your sport your identity. It's not who you are. It's just something that you do, and it gives you a platform to then use, hopefully in a positive way, or unfortunately for some in a negative way. But if God gave you the ability to do something like golf or basketball or football or run fast or whatever that is, that's a gift that, in the bigger picture might be looked at as, okay, I've been given this, now I have to give back. And how do I use this to, as you said earlier, when you said your ultimate goal is to make people happy and to bring goodness to the world and things. And if you can do that through hitting a golf ball, awesome, right? That's God's obviously given you that gift. And we think you're doing that, Keanu, or we wouldn't have had you on this podcast if we thought it was simply because you were a good golfer. We think there's more depth to you and more inside of you than just, driving and chipping and putting, which, by the way, I've seen him hit a golf ball, Shad, and the dude absolutely just murders the ball off the tee, like just kills it. It's so fun to watch. What I think I'm doing when I swing, in my head, I look like Keanu. And then every once in a while, I'll see a video of myself and I'll say, that looks nothing like Keanu. That looks like an old man who's had 2 back surgeries. That's exactly what that looks like, not Keanu.
And what's funny, Dustin, is I watch you swing, and that's how I look in my swing. So this is like the 3 tiers of golf on the screen right now. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Keanu, let's have some fun with you, man. We want to fire some. Shad and I are just going to kind of fire some different questions at you, and I don't think any of these are coming. So some are gonna be fun. Some might take you a second to think about, but they're going to be short, quick questions and short, quick answers. And we've got a little bit information on you from some research we've done that we're going to throw some things at you probably didn't see coming, but we're going to have a little fun. I'll let Shad start it off, and we'll do this for a minute or two, and then we'll be done.
You scored 34 points against LaMelo Ball and Chino Hills in 2016. How did that feel? And was Papa Ball there to witness you dominate his son that way?
Felt really good in the second half. Rough first half, but it was really fun in the second half. And yeah, LeVar was there. I could hear him.
That's awesome. That's every time you see him play, you got to be like, hey man, why can't these guys score 34 on him? I did, right? You got it. You always will have that up on him. That's pretty dang cool. How many hole-in-ones have you hit, Keanu?
2. I just had one last week.
Where? What course?
At Terralago North, number 7.
In a tournament?
Oh, it was unfortunately it was in the practice round.
Ah, no. If you do it in the practice round, you're for sure not going to do it in the tournament.
Yeah. But it was only my second one.
Huh, that surprises me with as much as you've played. I bet you've had several eagles though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably eagles every round. Any double eagles?
Nope.
Any double eagles, Keanu?
Not yet.
I know where you're going with that one, Dustin.
I'm not even gonna bring it up. I'm not even gonna say it. I don't want to hurt Keanu's feelings. I'm not even gonna say it.
Hey, if you have one, that's great for you. It's 2. You have 2 of them?
Yeah, two double eagles. Shad saw one of them.
Where?
But no hole-in-ones, Keanu. No hole-in-ones.
Double eagle is better. Where did you do that?
I did one up in Bear Lake at a course up there, and I did the other one in Spanish Fork that Shad saw. That was both have been several years ago, but yeah, number 2 at the time at Spanish Fork, Spanish Oaks Golf Course, and then number 9 up at Bear Lake Resort. That was with my son, so that was fun. He was only about 9 years old, my brother and my son. So it was fun to have it with him, and he freaked out and tackled me on the fairways. That was pretty fun with my boy. Got a good picture with him, and then having Shad for the other one was pretty cool too. But I'm almost positive the one with Shad at Spanish Oaks that I double bogeyed the next hole. So I gave all the strokes back. Don't worry.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. All right, Shad, go ahead.
Okay, 2 questions, but kind of the same question. Favorite course to golf in Utah and favorite course you've ever golfed anywhere?
Favorite course in Utah is Glen Wild, but my favorite public course to play is probably Gladstone. That's down by Dustin. Favorite course I've ever played, probably it's pretty close between Spyglass and Pebble Beach. I'd give Spyglass a slight edge.
That's what most people say when I've heard that question or ask people that, and they typically say the same thing. I've never played it. Someday, huh? Yeah, someday we'll play out there.
Yeah, we'll go play it.
Keanu, what do you have a specific round you remember playing in just crazy weather? And describe what it was like in that. If so, what that was like. I'm sure you've played in some wild conditions.
Yeah, played in snow a few times in college. There's one in Reno where it was snowing and we were like clearing the green so that we could putt.
Wow.
Miller got a good video of that one. There was one in Arizona, same thing, where it snowed, and I think warming up that day, we were warming up at had to be 5:36 in the morning, hitting on the range. It was pitch black, and I don't think I've ever been more cold in my life.
In Arizona, huh? Was it up in like Flagstaff or something, or where were you?
No, it was in Tucson.
Really? In snow?
Yeah.
Wow.
In January. So, and then like a couple years ago at the Monday for the Sony, it rained so hard that right as soon as we finished 18, they called it and they had everyone come in. That one was kind of more fun though. I was playing Carson Lundell that day. That was fun.
Yeah. What's harder to play in, wind or snow or rain?
If you don't have the gear for the snow, definitely the snow. But once we got at BYU, we got the electric hand warmers, and I figured out how to do my layers the way that I like it. It's definitely way more doable now. But if you're playing in wind, you just need a lot of wind reps.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I could putt better in snow actually, and I would clear the green, but I would only clear just a short little path from my ball.
Make a runway right to the hole.
Yeah. Bumpers,
Yeah.
like bumpers
There
in
you go.
bowling. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so you at your best, your dad at his best, or your grandpa at his best, who wins in one-on-one basketball?
Holy smokes. Man, I hate to say it, but I think my dad would probably win.
See, this is what I dream of, Keanu. Like, if in heaven, we all have like our perfected bodies, we can answer these questions, right? And so I could be like, hey, Dustin, let's play one-on-one pre-back surgery, right? And let's my knee works, your back works. Let's see who was it. I could be entertained for eternity just matching people up. LeBron, Jordan. All right, let's settle this question. Anyway, so
that's the only reason I'm trying to be any kind of a good person in life, is for the hope that I can someday have that answer, Shad. I want to be able to see what it's like to not be hurting anymore. Keanu, have you ever thrown a golf club in anger?
Have I ever thrown a golf club? Yeah, I have.
How many times do you think? Let's go over, under 5 times, more or less.
Over 5.
What about 10?
Probably under 10.
Under 10.
Okay, furthest you've ever thrown a golf.
Did you just give one a huck one time that was just like, man, I wish I could hit my driver that far? Like, did you let one just go?
No, I've never like hucked it. Like, it's the times that I've done it, it's been like kind of just like a little flick. There's one time I threw a wedge pretty far, but it was just because I was just throwing it to the cart. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't a bad one.
Yeah. I played with a guy once and he threw a club and then we couldn't find it. He lost his club.
That's not good.
I remember Justin Sua on our podcast saying one time he went out when he was with the Tampa Bay Rays. He was the mental performance coach there, and he was golfing with a baseball player and a professional golfer and Justin. And the baseball player kept throwing his club and swearing, and the professional golfer looked at him and said, "Dude, you're not good enough at golf to be mad at yourself that you're this bad at it. Like, just stop. You're not good. Stop." That's where I am. I've never really thrown a club because I'm not good enough to deserve the right to be frustrated at myself. So
yeah, man, it sure brings out a side of you sometimes, though, that I'm not a club thrower. I have jammed it in the ground a couple times, but there's been some things I've thought in my head that if they had come out of my mouth, I would be in big trouble when I got home by my wife. Golf will do that to you, man. Right? Keanu, does your wife golf?
No. I've taken her a few times. We've played like some par 3 courses.
So I got a question for you that you would want more time to think about this, but and you'll probably regret your answer after, once you've had time to think about it. But if you could have your perfect foursome, so 3 people playing with you on the earth today, so there's no going back in time, who would you play with?
Steph Curry, Tiger, and I'm trying to think of someone that I haven't played with before that I would add to that. Chad.
Just kidding.
You'd that's a fun one to think about. Who you would? Steph Curry, I think that would be a fun one.
He's
Tiger,
good, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really
he's a good golfer. Yeah, he's a really good golfer. He could probably, if he really got serious at it, he's good. Yeah, he can play. Well, Chad, you have any more for Keanu, or should we wrap it up?
No, I would just say wrapping up for me, Keanu,
Awesome.
You could tell you're good to the core, man. And we hope that you just blow up golf-wise, because you're the exact kind of person that we hope has great success, because of your desires to use that success to help and to lift other people, instead of just attract attention and resources to yourself and your own family. So I just hope you blow up like crazy, and have all the success in the world, because you want to have success for the right reasons. That's what I would close with, Dustin, on my end.
I put my stamp on that one 100%, man. Keanu, you're a great young man. Keep it up. We're pulling for you. Everybody, thanks for joining us today. Keep your eyes up and do the work.
Thank you for joining the Especially for Athletes podcast. To learn more about Especially for Athletes organization, get a copy of our book, The Sportlight, or to bring our program to your team, school, business, or organization, visit us at especiallyforathletes.org.